I'm John Shearer, and coming up, how business leaders in Montana are leaning on Governor Steve Bullock to open the gates to Yellowstone National Park.
The Sweet Pea Festival will take place this year, but it's going to look a little different. I'm Gabby Crevitt, and coming up, I'll let you know what you can expect from Bozeman's favorite summer tradition.
Just ahead of 6:30 on this Tuesday, Chet Lehman, Matt Elwell with you here. Caitlin Corbett is off today. Boy, the sun is peeking through the trees out there. I had a little raindrops.
Yeah.
Park opened yesterday.
That's
partly.
True. We do have some, well, hopefully we have some video. I was looking over there of Yellowstone National Park. Look at that. This is a live video. It was pretty cool.
Well, and look, completely social distance from the rest of the herd.
Nicely done. Birds. Now they're social distance.
Oh, no, yeah, the birds. Those pesky birds.
Yeah. You may be able to see a few thunder showers this afternoon as you're stepping outside. Those pesky birds. A few thunder showers developing this afternoon across the area. The strongest storms off to our north, but the potential of daytime highs right around the 70-degree mark. Those showers and thunderstorms developing. Could see some small to moderate hail in some cases. We're going to talk more about what you can expect today through the week and into your weekend. That's, of course, coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Matt. 6:30. We'll get to the opening in Yellowstone in a moment. Meantime, our top story this half hour. Gallatin County Sheriff's Office reports a 68-year-old Big Sky man was found last week dead in his garage. Officials say David Green was found about 11:15 in the morning on May 12th. Sheriff's Office and Chief Deputy Coroner are investigating that death. Now, during the investigation, Sean Patrick Murphy was arrested for obstructing a police officer. Murphy has since posted bond. Autopsy results are still pending. And a person is missing after falling into the water near Natural Bridge Falls. That's a scenic falls on the Boulder River south of Big Timber. Sweetgrass County Sheriff's Office, assisted by a dive team from Billings, searched for the missing person. Late yesterday afternoon, the search and recovery operation was suspended, but officials say passive search efforts will continue. The name of that person is being withheld until a family can be notified. Well, vehicles lined up from around Wyoming and across the country to get a first look at spring in the nation's oldest park, as all entrances from Montana remain closed. MTN's Jay Cohn and photographer Paul Humphrey made the trip yesterday to see the park, even half open, still full of people.
Where else are you likely to meet someone from Wuhan, China?
I'm Zheng Wu. I'm actually from Wuhan, China. Sorry about the virus, folks.
Yellowstone Park, of course. Monday morning at 10 o'clock, a steady stream of cars, pickups, and campers started the trek from Yellowstone's east entrance to the park's southern loop. Yellowstone, the very first national park, also among the first in the national park system to welcome visitors back following the coronavirus shutdown. For those making the trip to the east entrance here outside of Cody, today visiting Yellowstone is pretty much a day trip. You can take the southern loop, eventually making it to Old Faithful and Canyon, but the only way out of Yellowstone from here is to turn around and go back through the east entrance or to head south towards Jackson Hole. Yes, even in the midst of a pandemic, the lure of Yellowstone shines through, bringing people from across the nation and the world to see one of America's greatest treasures. For Zhen Wu, a chance to throw his very first snowball. For Jennifer and Ellie Wilson from nearby Powell, a chance to renew their acquaintance with one of their favorite places.
We try and come once a year, but it's sometimes so frustrating with all the people that this is really nice.
Caleb from Kansas, like others today, getting to see Yellowstone for the very first time. And what a better way to forget the COVID-19 headlines, but to soak up Mother Nature at her best.
It's not bad up here. Yeah, it's pretty decent. I was a little surprised because of the snow on the peaks, but it's surprisingly quite beautiful out here, yeah.
It's beautiful here.
Yeah, I mean, we heard it was opening up. We couldn't pass up the opportunity, you know. I still have schoolwork right now, but you know what? You can't pass this up right now. It's the best time to go.
If you're coming to Yellowstone, be prepared. Right now, only the 2 Wyoming entrances are open. No hotels, no restaurants. Face coverings are advised for the park's high visitation areas, and there is a limit to the number of people allowed into visitor centers. Public restrooms can also be hard to find, but most are open and complete with hand sanitizers. It's only half open, but even Yellowstone at 50% is well worth the trip. Jay Cohn reporting for MTN News in Yellowstone National Park.
By the way, Jay tells us even in a pandemic, Yellowstone a great place to spot license plates. He says he saw visitors from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, and Texas. So, how well are visitors to Yellowstone doing when it comes to social distancing? Take a look for yourself. These pictures captured live as Old Faithful erupted yesterday afternoon. You can see some people are socially distanced apart, but many are more bunched together in that. Staying in the park, Yellowstone opened its gates in Wyoming, as we mentioned yesterday at noon, but the Montana gates remain closed. MTN's John Shearer reports some business owners want that to change sooner than later.
What's keeping the Montana gates to Yellowstone closed is the state's 14-day quarantine requirement for out-of-state visitors. Governor Steve Bullock insists it's working.
We have the lowest hospitalizations and cases per population in the nation.
So Bullock says he's unlikely to lift the quarantine until at least the 1st of June. Business owners say he should reconsider.
We need to get open. We need to, the virus is a terrible thing, but we have to deal with it, and we just can't have the whole country go bankrupt.
That Montana should take a closer look at what guidelines we have so that our businesses can get back to somewhat normal.
We need to figure out how we're going to deal with the new normal, because if you wait too long, we can't exist.
Park Superintendent Cam Shawley admits it's a tough decision.
We're doing the best job that we can to reconcile divergent opinions on these issues with our partners.
Shawley said he hoped Montana and Wyoming could agree on an opening date, but Bullock wants assurances that the park will be ready for the crowds,
including health screening protocols, a surveillance testing plan, the limiting of large gatherings, and frequent cleaning and sanitation requirements.
If they use the best practices for mitigation and keeping themselves and others safe, we can move forward and there won't be any problems or minimal problems.
But there's one step Shawley says the park just won't take.
I will not put my staff at risk of having them attempt to socially distance large crowds of visitors who decide not to adhere to social distancing guidance.
Business owners we spoke with agree that behavior of park visitors is the key to keeping it open. They say every business needs to impress that upon their guests. In Bozeman, John Shearer, MTN News.
Now, the governor says another reason he's keeping the Montana gates closed is to give local health departments time to prepare for a large number of tourists. A 42-year-old tradition in Bozeman being interrupted because of the coronavirus pandemic. MTN's Gabby Crevitt has the latest on Bozeman's Sweet Pea Festival.
The Sweet Pea Festival in Bozeman brings in thousands every year to celebrate the arts. And this year the event is scheduled to continue, but it's going to look a little different than the past 42 years.
This isn't an easy festival to put on. We do it all year. We plan all year long.
Throw in a global pandemic and planning becomes even more difficult.
The fact of the matter is we can't, as a community, even get together in groups of more than 10 people. Sweet Pea definitely does not fit that criteria.
The event usually brings in around 15,000 people to Lindley Park every year to enjoy art, food, music, and crafts for the entire family. And while the festival isn't until early August, how do you plan for a large-scale event when we're only still in phase 1?
We are not in the phase of recovery that will allow us to even get the permits to do it. We had to think about when we're making the decision, if people come from out of state, they have to stay for 2 weeks currently for, quarantine.
But the good news is the festival will go on. The art show, flower show, and Kids Chalk on the Walk will continue with social distancing measures in play. The board of directors is currently coming up with new events and is asking for public input if there's a good idea out there.
We are talking about, different ways to do everything from music to beer garden to theater and dance. We'll, I'm sure, do some things virtually, but we've got some other really great ideas.
And if you're wondering about the festival's staple food item, known as the tater pig, there's still hope for that.
Well, we might be working on a way to do that.
In Bozeman, Gabby Crevitt, MTN News.
More to follow on that for sure then. We're going to take a quick break now. When we come back, now that many states are easing their coronavirus restrictions, will you soon be able to visit loved ones in a nursing home? Coming up, the rules are changing and what precautions are still needed. But first, here's what's coming up at 7 o'clock on CBS This Morning.
Good morning to you. Ahead on CBS This Morning, Dr. David Agus will explain the risk associated with the drug the president says he's taking to protect himself from COVID-19. Also, our Financial Fallout series helps you navigate your personal finances during these very difficult times. Plus, we'll take you behind the scenes to see how one airline is trying to stop the threat of coronavirus on every flight. And meet a new college graduate who was homeless when she was 15. Notice word was. A story of hope in these very uncertain times. We'll see you 7 o'clock on the dot.